Thank you for tuning in to our channel, Joseph Tamale Mirundi on Facebook and Tamale Mirundi Official on YouTube. Tonight, we are coming to you live with the introduction of our new book we have put online, Crucified for My Own Wealth. The hunters will also be hunted. This book was written on the 12th day of March 2019. It was inspired by the events or the happenings on SK MBUGA, a rich Ugandan young man who was arrested and whose arrest was facilitated by the country's internal security organization, ISO. This book was written on those events by Joseph Tamale Mirundi, our usual author. So we thank you and we are very grateful that you follow all our writings. Today, we are getting this book, Eranga Nakowe Kali mu Uganda. So happens to this English version. It is also available right about now online. Other books that are online include The Politics of the Banyampi, Yellow Times magazine analysis. You can as well go there and find those books. Today's book and the book title is Crucified for My Own Wealth. It bears a cover of SK MBUGA and written by Joseph Tamale Mirundi. Introduction. The rich robbing from the poor. The Bible readers are familiar with the story of King David, who plotted to kill his enemy. Bible readers are familiar with the story of a king who plotted to kill his army general by sending him on the front line of the hottest battle with an intention to snatch his beautiful wife. The king's general, whose name was Uriah, paid a heavy price for marrying a woman more beautiful than the king's queen. The scriptures say that God was unhappy with this injustice and reprimanded King David over the matter. He did this through prophet Nathan. God confronted David and challenged him with a story of an extremely wealthy man who had many sheep but grabbed the only sheep from a poor man. King David felt touched by the story and demanded that the evil rich man should be summoned and severely punished for this injustice. At this point, God revealed the real culprit to the king, and the culprit happened to be the King David himself. I have deliberately used this example to expose the practice by internal security organization ISO, who are spending government resources to help Europeans recover their money lost in dubious business transactions involving Ugandans. The essence is the ISO bosses are behaving like the biblical king who grabbed the only lamb the poor man owned in life. What does history say? The Bible further tells us of a man who was going on a long trip. This man entrusted servants with his money while he was gone. On his return, he discovered that one of them had invested the money and earned profits, while another one kept it under the pillow and never made profits from his master's wealth. The author notes that the man was furious with the person who kept the money in the house, and that he was happy with the man that invested and earned the profits. This means that people are motivated by more profits rather than honesty. The scriptures also talk about another scenario where a man and a woman were caught red-handed in a sexual act. When the two were brought to Jesus, he made a fundamental verdict. Jesus asked the angry mob, which was dominated by elders, whether none of them had ever committed adultery. The Bible tells us that the crowd melted away, and the elders were the first to depart, followed by kids who had been drawn by excitement. All the incidents noted above seek everyone's attention in relation to the operations of Esau. How do nations get wealth? For all those that are questioning how SK MBUGA acquired wealth, this is for you. I would like you to read the history of how a small Britain that was at the same size as Uganda became United Kingdom. How they became a larger kingdom to the extent of colonizing other countries around the world. I want you to read the history of how America became the current superpower. We are still reading this book, Crucified for My Own Wealth, and that is the introduction, and we are still continuing. But I want to tell you that to stay on course, and our course is looking at how Mbuga was crucified for his own wealth. I will skip the history of these two countries, but I want to bring it to your attention that this history is written right here on page 4 and page 5 of the book. For all those that would want to read it, you can still go and read a summarized history of how Britain became large, how Britain became rich, how America became the superpower, and how capitalists work. Let me go straight to the next heading that is related to SK MBUGA in the introduction, which is Esau is worse than SK MBUGA'S. I strongly doubt whether senior officials in Esau have ever read this part of history. By the time the British arrived and colonized India, the tradition was that gold should be kept in mosques. British merchants raided the mosques and stole golden bars stashed in these places of worship to the extent of cleaning the walls. The stolen gold was shipped back to Britain. I also strongly doubt whether the Esau director is aware that Britain went to war with China over smoking marijuana. This came to be known as the Anglo-Chinese War of 1848. The vanquished Chinese were forced to buy and smoke marijuana from British companies. This was the way how the Britons made money. This was the way how Britons made money. Macau Island was later taken over by Portugal, and it was the main stopover for marijuana conduits. We are still reading this book, Crucified for My Own Wealth. We are reading in the introduction. The book was written in inspiration of events that happened, and during the time of arresting the Ugandan young rich man called SK MBUGA. Continuation. Mr. Kaka of Esau, the Esau director, should also remember the origin of knighthood of Sir Drake. Drake was a notorious pirate who targeted commercial ships, and at the end of his escapades, he returned to Britain with 3,000 bars of gold. Drake was knighted by the Queen for this achievement. The Esau director can say that these are past mistakes, but he should be reminded that similar incidents have happened since then, including the British intervention in Sierra Leone Civil War. The Britons The British intervened in the war purposely to protect diamond mines from rebels. Surprisingly, ever since then, even when the war ended, Britain never handed over the mines to Sierra Leone government. Does ISO have the moral authority? President Museveni refers to the Bible to illustrate responsibilities of individuals. The Bible says that they left what they were supposed to do and did what they were not supposed to do, and therefore there is no truth in them. What is the role of ISO? ISO can pique interest in someone's wealth if it poses a security threat to the country. As long as MBUGA'S wealth does not threaten the national security, ISO does not need to poke their nose into MBUGA'S or anyone's wealth. In case MBUGA has committed crimes outside the country, it should be Interpol to handle the matter, not ISO. In case of foreign security operations, the responsibility lies with ISO, not ISO. Therefore, I find it strange for ISO to be involved in such cases committed abroad. This is what many Ugandans overlook. I hold no personal grudges against officials in ISO or an organization. My concern is that if such a crucial organization is diverted from its main role, therefore, the country is also diverting its resources allocated to operations that benefit individuals, not the country. Government has lost billions of shillings in scandals that would have been prevented by our security forces. Why should our security organizations work as mercenaries to recover money that belong to foreigners? Money that is allegedly stolen by Ugandans abroad? Why not devote such energies to recovering taxpayers' money that is continuously lost in dubious deals? Is it not shameful? That marks the end of the introduction of this book, Crucified for My Own Wealth, a book written from the inspiration of Mr. SK MBUGA, written by Joseph Tamale Mirundi on the 12th day of March in the year 2019. Continue supporting us, continue sharing, continue being part of us. Don't forget to subscribe. See you then in part 2 of Crucified for My Own Wealth.